Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. Tesla has tons of competitive advantages and barriers to entry, but I wanted to focus on one major element, bringing it back once again to the potential of the company I'm most excited about, the 4680 sale, and explain further how once this sale is in effect, it puts Tesla absolutely in a league of its own. My idea of this industry is still progressing daily, as we see more and more how it manifests. The Chinese are really going hard out with their LFP sales, and this is going to be their competitive advantage. Fortunately, Tesla is the largest customer of the world's largest LFP manufacturer, and Tesla will benefit tremendously from that. As we know, there are really two types of batteries we see in EVs, these iron phosphate cathode cells and these nickel-based cells. The nickel cells being more expensive due to nickel being more scarce than iron, and they're more complex to produce due to potential thermal management issues. LFP are great low-cost cells that have lowered the entry cost of EVs for many consumers. They've proven to be great and serve as the battery with the application for low-cost EVs, but they have limited energy density and are thus limited with range and performance. However, these nickel cell factories take a long time to make, and it's also tough when all your customers that use them in their cars sell these cars at a loss and can't hit volume production on their production lines. Therefore, Legacy have been proactive and partnered with battery manufacturers to make these massive cell and battery factories required for their cars, hoping that economies of scale will reduce their costs enough to be competitive, accompanied with the necessary subsidies from the government. In the US, the government are giving $35 per kilowatt hour. For Ford and GM, this brings down their cell cost a lot. For example, for an 80 kilowatt hour battery in a car, that saves almost $3,000 per vehicle. Then the additional $7,500 off the price tag gives them a real chance of profit. But I still see these car dealer networks being such a barrier for them, and they know that, hence even trying to buy them out. Legacy orders were aiming for about 100 kilowatt hours before inflation, so perhaps they end up getting down to $80 to $90 per kilowatt hour after these subsidies. So their battery pack cost may only be down to around $7,000 for them, for a vehicle potentially reaching 300 miles of range. Then cutting costs as much as possible elsewhere by perhaps manufacturing them in Mexico. Then they may even be able to produce some sort of profit from these vehicles, assuming the tax credits hold up. Anyway, one way or another, there may be these legacy EV brands. Even if the companies go bankrupt, these vehicles may still rise out of the ashes, and they're investing in a fortune in these nickel cells. But even despite that, there still won't be enough vehicles for everyone. And it won't be close to as many EVs as Tesla can make, because aside from Tesla also benefiting from LFP more so than any other car manufacturer due to additional efficiencies Tesla are able to create with their software, motors and powertrain, they also have their 4680 cells. LFP are great for Tesla now to expand and grow their manufacturing as there is more abundance of these cells, but it is limiting Tesla to standard range vehicle expansion and not allowing them to grow into the longer range markets or larger vehicle segments. Once Tesla expands their 4680 cell production, then they can grow into these other markets with just about no competition. Yes, Ford is already in some, like the electric pickup truck market, but they're not going to be making many. Nothing close to how fast Tesla will be able to produce the Cybertruck. Tesla are going to have by far the most nickel-based cells out of any company in the world, with the highest energy density at the lowest cost per kilowatt hour that can be produced at the fastest rate, that go into vehicles with drivetrains that get the most output per kilowatt hour, whilst also reducing the weight as much as possible too. And when I say lowest cost, we're talking about lower cost than China can make LFP cells. Then we have a $35 per kilowatt hour subsidy from the government to come on top of that, which makes your head spin. Then as these vehicles are so energy dense, they can go into the likes of pickup trucks that are much more profitable vehicle than the likes of low-cost compacts. Then the fact Tesla have gotten their production costs so low and the consumer has very little cost of ownership when compared to a traditional pickup truck that is possibly powered by a gas-thirsty V8 engine, yet the Tesla is still delivering better performance than a V8 truck could ever imagine. The potential for new models with the 4680 cells doesn't stop there. The EV market is so new, it is still untapped in so many segments. The Chinese are expanding with low-cost, low-range sedans, but the auto market is much larger than that, And EV customers are willing to spend more than ICE customers, perhaps 10 to 20% more, given the cost savings and advantages of going electric. Yet Tesla is already offering competitive sticker prices compared to the relative ICE competition, excluding savings. And this is still after Tesla raising their prices by so much. Yes, a BMW X3 is still a comparable price to a Model Y, and the BMW still costs more with the options that come standard in a Tesla, and the BMW costs more to run, more to insure than Tesla insurance, depreciates more, doesn't have autopilot, let alone FSD, and doesn't have the same performance, and the Model Y actually has the same amount of range as a high-end X3. And if we want to be objective, we can also say that Tesla does get through tyres a little bit faster than an ICE car. But then we could also say that you don't have to waste a good part of your day, twice a year, taking the car in to get serviced and oil changes. Wow, that sure feels primitive now I think back to it. Anyway, I digress once again to defend the price of Tesla, to explain how they are not overpriced. Hopefully I don't have to explain supply and demand again, in order for people to realise why they are not affordable to everyone yet. The X3 isn't even BMW's best-selling car. No, that's their more expensive, larger SUV, the X5, which is why it's their first serious attempt at an electric car, the BMW iX, depending on if you count the i3 seriously. The electric SUV is also where Mercedes are spending the most of their focus too, as it may even be a segment that they might be close to a profit for. Sure, Tesla does offer the Model X, but that's more than just an SUV. It's kind of unique. Tesla may, however, offer a more affordable SUV than the Model X. I think it's a very likely segment that they get into next, at least with their 4680 sales, unless they just go full out on robotaxis. I don't think the compact Tesla will use 4680 cells. It would be a waste, as LFP cells could handle that, whereas an SUV would require 4680s. But will their SUV be a larger Model Y or some sort of variation of the Cybertruck? And we're likely not talking about any such car to be announced for a while, and not in production until perhaps 2025, as the Cybertruck will be popular enough to ramp up with the 4680s for now, along with the existing Model Y and potentially a new Model 3. A large electric SUV with possibly up to 500 miles of range, or maybe more if the Cybertruck is anything to go by. Although I think there comes a point where enough range is enough. Well, that will sell very well. And within time, it may have an entry price of around $65,000. Sounds too low? Well, I'd expect Model Y prices to drop too. That SUV will still sell very well. Then what else could Tesla make? A van? This is no particular order, of course, and the van may even be next. Then we can get into all the way a van can be designed from first principles thinking if it doesn't have an engine and contains a mobile battery station. But we can imagine the kind of profit an electric van might produce. Or perhaps a minivan for passengers. Let's not forget this is also whilst there is a highly profitable semi-truck being ramped up too. Then maybe a Tesla sports car. My dream car would likely be a Cyber Coupe. Again, all this is contingent on Tesla getting their 4680 production up and running. I've been saying since Battery Day, or even before, that Tesla need to simply get their own in-house cell production going and ramped up in order to expand. I didn't expect it to take this long. We can likely take credence though that it means there is no one else coming with their equivalent of Tesla's 4680 cell. Oh, but Panasonic are making their own 4680s, and even BMW going to use them. No, not even close to Tesla's. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.